This is Riley on TTS and iOS, and today we're going to do an update stream. Plus, there's something I really wanted to do, which was trying to revive one of my old iOS devices, my iPhone 5 specifically. I'm not going to get to reviving that right now. So right now I'm just going to mention the updates. The updates is that, as you can tell by the title of the stream, is I'm going to have 2 iOS videos coming up next week. Before you ask, they are not about iOS 12. The first video I'm going to do is an iOS 11 recap. You might be wondering, why are you doing this? Well, I just want to, I just had the idea of doing iOS recaps, because, just to we're going to kind of refresh our minds about how iOS 11 has been. And so basically the recap, the reason why it's not necessarily a recap, because here's what the recap is. The recap is, because I'm basically going to be talking about, how good iOS 11 was, and what we might or should be expecting from iOS 12. Now, most of you are on beta, but again, I don't consider the people that are on beta. When the public version comes out, that's the start of a new major update. So my thing with the recap is basically to give us an idea of how good iOS 11 was. There is no one on the chat. Okay. It's gonna give us an idea of how good iOS 11 was, and what we might expect to see, and basically what we might expect to see from iOS 12. So really, that's what I don't think you'd necessarily call it a recap. I'm actually gonna unplug this because this cable is gonna get in the way. But I wouldn't really consider it a recap. I mean, I would, but I don't. You guys probably wouldn't consider it a recap, but it's happening. I've actually never done recaps for previous iOS versions. My first iOS version I've ever used was iOS 9, but I never really did a recap for iOS's 9 and 10. This year I want to do an iOS 11 recap. Next year I might do an iOS 12 recap. Who knows? But I'm planning on doing an iOS 11 recap so that we have a better idea of how iOS 11 was, and then what to expect as iOS 12 comes out. That's basically the point of the recap. As for the second video, is going to be about, because support for iOS 9 is actually ending very soon. It's going to be ending in September. I don't know when, because I know it ends as soon as iOS 12 is out, or maybe later, but support for iOS 9 is going to end in less than a month. Like right now we're on the 4th week of August. It's going to end in mid-September. So the second video is basically, I don't know how I came up with the ideas for this video, but the second video is basically going to be about how how to manage the best out of, if you have an iOS 9 device. I'm basically going to be talking you through some tips on how to manage, well, not manage, but what to do and how to prepare for that support end that's going to be happening. Now, these support ends have been happening since 2010, and they happen yearly. Last year was iOS 8's turn. This year is 9's turn. Next year is going to be iOS 10's turn. So I think I would say I'm not gonna really mention what's going to be in that video because that video is going to be a surprise. But I will mention. I will mention some kind of some tips that could prepare you for that software support drop that happens. Do keep in mind though, if you've already done these tips, they're not going to be helpful for you. That's basically it. So again, the 2 videos I'm doing next week. So that's how all of that is happening next week. So around the 27th to 31st week. The iOS 11 recap, and the iOS 9 support drop preparations. So expect that around August 27th to 31st. So that's next Monday through Friday, but definitely before the beginning of September. Oh my god. Okay. So I don't have a lot of these old devices, but this one is an iPhone 5. I'm gonna see if my tip works for trying to revive this. I don't know why I decided to do this on camera, because sometimes this reviving iPhone tip doesn't really work. Because I've done it. I've had to do it several times on this phone. Because the battery is terrible. And because of that, once it turns off, it will not turn on. Like, legit, this will not turn on once it turns off. And the only way to turn it on, or at least the way I found it, was that if you play around with it, like you could probably play around with the home button or the touch screen. But even if you just play around with this, it will actually respring. So it's kind of like that. I call it the magician's hand trick, because it's kind of like that when you freeze an organism, it slows their metabolism down. And so when a magician holds that organism, it looks like they're dead because they're not moving. But then all of a sudden they warm up and then they just like respring. Like, basically the magician's fly trick. You take a fly out of a freezer and it slows their metabolism down. So when a magician holds a fly, it looks like the fly's legit dead because it's not moving. But then all of a sudden it heats up and resprings. And then it's flying. So it's kind of like that way, except you do it to an iOS device. That's how I actually got my iPod Touch 3 to work, actually, because I was just playing around with it, and then it happened to like respring on me. It was plugged in, and then it made that high-pitched, that old charging sound, and then that's how I got it to somehow just respring. I feel like the 5 is a little hard to reboot, or at least my 5, because the battery is just so bad. Even with my 5, even when I don't use it, the battery is low within a day. So it has trouble staying on. Like, it'll die after 3 days, and then once it dies, it's even hard to get back on because it will not reboot with the adapter. And right now, I think it's got a fully charged battery. And I just attempted to turn this on, but it's not turning on right now. And this is the oldest phone I have, by the way. Well, the oldest iPhone, at least. Let me... So you're trying to fly for reference to... I mean, I wasn't trying to use it as a reference, Austin. I was just trying to compare. It was a comparison, basically. I was comparing it to how a magician holds a fly that is legit, like that. It looks like they're dead, but then they just like fly away. So I'm not. I guess you could say it's a reference, but really what I was trying to do is compare that. Hi, Austin. For reference to our Apple device. Strange. I've actually tried doing this yesterday, but it never. I never succeeded on it. But part is you have to be able to do this without putting the phone down. The first time I did this, I was actually on a call with somebody, and then they were actually just doing something else, and I was just playing around with the phone because I'm pretty fidgety, and then all of a sudden it resprung. But this is not the easiest thing to do, especially if I do it the wrong way. One watching now, 0 likes. By the way, I'm using the iPhone to stream. I'm supposed to be using the iPad to stream, but someone has the iPad. I don't even know why I'm doing this on camera. I might take the stream down after. And it really doesn't matter to me if I don't get a lot of views for this, because I don't expect a lot of views from doing this. This is the only remaining case I have from my 5. Oh, that's your other account? Okay. Hi. You know what? I'm gonna probably not plug it up because this has been plugged in for minutes. It just never turned on. I'm just gonna plug it in anyway because I think the battery might have drained on it. I know I'm actually not supposed to put the phone down, but I'm just gonna... Oh! That actually resprung. I don't know if you guys just heard that, but, it did respring.
Emergency button. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I don't care if this passcode gets leaked out, because this is my old phone and I don't even use this often.
Mail. 37% battery power. Charging. Low power mode.
Okay, 37%.
Item. Bluetooth on. Weather. Double tap to open. Action.
But this is a terrible quality version of Aaron. It's a terrible... No, I'm actually... I'm this work.
9 p.m. Unlock. 0, 4. Values then 2, 4.
But this is definitely a really bad quality version of Aaron.
Mail. 28 unread emails. 38% battery power. Charging. YouTube. Skype. Settings.
This phone is running version 10.
Open. Settings. Airplane. Control. General. General. Selected. General. About. Software update. Button. Software update.
For this phone anymore.
Software.
Actually, not
General. CarPlay. And software update. About.
what I meant to click on was about.
About. Select.
Oh,
Name. About. Name. Photos. Application. Version 10.3.3 14G60. Available. 10.3.3
yeah, 10.3.3.
button.
I
Okay.
don't care about iCloud.
Mail. 28 unread emails.
Like
Double
I've
button. 40% battery power. Charging. Okay. Low power mode. Status. 3 fingers to reopen. 2, 4. GHI. Notes. Mail. Doc. Skype. 15 new items.
Whoa. 15 new items on YouTube. By the way, this version of the app, by the way, because I never bothered to update.
YouTube and YouTube Music. Get YouTube. Get you. Get YouTube. Mail. 20. App switcher. YouTube. Active. Closing YouTube. Maps. Doc. YouTube. 15 new items.
Yeah, 15 new items. Wow.
Double tap to open.
What? Oh.
So, trending. Tap. So, search. Your account. Search. Button. Search field.
Music, comma, TTS, comma, and iOS.
Dim. Comma. Next keyboard. Next keyboard. Emoji.
I don't even know why the Korean keyboard was set.
Close search field. Is editing. Search YouTube. Delete. Close search field.
Music, comma, TTS, comma, and iOS.
Thinking. Settled. Attachment. iOS. Inserted music. TTS. And iOS. Space. Search. Back. Music. Clear. Tap. Trending. Clear. Refine. Bon Jovi. It's my life. TTS host. JP's are central. It's not like I like you. Beat. We're ahead. TTS. Rating talk up. Vocalware T. Music. TTS. And iOS. 69 subscribers. 109 videos. New. Back. Button. Music. Video. Button. Search. Button.
어?
말들아 영화 그거 볼 수 있는 거 깔아놨어 아이패드에. 그래서 너 심심하면 영화 보라고.
아니 근데 그 설명한 영화 그 설명 영화도 아닌데.
너 말고 그러면 다른 사람 보자. 너는 설명하는 영화 봐 그럼. 엄마 씻는다.
씻어. 근데 이거 안 까줬어?
뭐?
새우깡.
아 어디 있냐?
여기.
More actions. Button. Selected.
이거 내일 가서 누가 알러지 있냐 혹시?
모르겠는데.
내일 가서 영화 보면서 같이 먹어보라고.
Videos. About. Tab 5 of 5. Button.
하지 말까? 여기 알러지 있는 사람들 많아서. 그래. 가위 있니 혹시?
TTS. iOS.
없어?
69. About.
한번 잘라올게.
Videos. Tab. Selected. Video. Back. Music. More app. Home. Select. About. Date app. Update. 2 iOS videos coming up. Music. TTS. and iOS. Live. Button. Actions available. Music. TTS. and iOS. Live. Live chat. Pause. Button. Play.
Okay. I finally got this working. So my 5 is back up and running, but I don't think that's gonna last long.
Screen end. Next bit. Play. Button.
자, 이거는 지퍼팩으로 채우는 거라 먹으면 지퍼 이렇게 닫아놔. 이거 푼다.
All right.
Screen end.
So my 5 is back up and running now. But that's probably not going to last long because it dies so fast.